Yeah, good morning. I welcome you to this platform this morning. And quickly, I want to share with you some factors that make women to be more attached, that make women to be more concerned about their children. And if you should understand these reasons, these factors, you see, these issues of having problem or quarrels with mother-in-laws, especially women, pay attention, it will reduce will reduce if you understand these factors that make women to be more attached, to be more closer, to be more concerned about their children. Now, listen to me. Mothers often exhibit greater concern for their children due to the combination of some factors which are responsible for this. And I know, as you and I understand, all these the prevalent mother-in-law issues, if you check very well, it's only most times it's noticed between the woman, the wife, and the man's mother. You see, men most times don't have time for these things. You hardly hear about father-in-law having issues. You will be hearing mother-in-law, mother-in-law. I'm going to show you the reasons why it is so. It is not a bad thing. It is how their nature is. Number one factor that make them to be more concerned about their children, that make them to want to care more about their children even after marriage. Number one is biological bonds. There is this hormone that is called oxytocin. This oxytocin is released. It's a kind of hormone that's often responsible for bonding between the mother and the child. This bonding hormone, it is called also bonding hormone or oxytocin. This bonding hormone is released mostly during pregnancy or during childbirth, and also during breastfeeding, it is being released. Now, this hormone called oxytocin is what strengthens the emotional connection between the mother and her child, thereby making the mother to be more attracted or more attentive to the children's welfare. That's what makes mothers to be more attentive, that makes them to be more, more protective of their children. It's not between this hormone is not between the father and the mother, the children most times. That's why most times it's women that exhibit it the more. Number two factor I want to share with you that brings about this is evolutionary role. That's what I call it, evolutionary role. Now, from this evolutionary role or perspective, mothers, it is proven that mothers have historically been primary caregivers. They have been known primarily as caregivers by ensuring the survival of their offspring, by being attuned most times to the needs, to the well-being of their offspring. So women most times naturally are caregivers. Have you noticed, if you take time, observe chicken, when it is moving with the little ones, you see how she cares for them. Have you ever asked yourself, where is the father? Where is their father? Most times you only see her with the children. She will pick food and give them. Always care, even when an enemy come to pick the children, she's the one that will fight to defend, to keep them, to protect them. Number three factor is emotional attachment. Mothers, hear this, mothers typically spend more time, if you check very well, they typically spend more time nurturing children or their children, especially during their early period or season of development. They do this fostering a kind of deep and emotional bond between them and the children. You see, the more they do it, the more they get attached to them, to the children. And this bond naturally makes them more invested. Mark my word, this makes them to be more invested in their children's welfare. They have this mentality that they invested, in fact, naturally, not just that they have a mentality, they invest more on the children. Because most time you as the man, you're out there looking for money, running from pillar to post, but they are closer to the kids, investing more time in them. Number four is attachment theory. Attachment theory. And this theory suggests that a child's dependence on their mother in the early years is responsible or is what strengthens the mother's instinct to prioritize the child's need. They see kids when they were being raised up, children always exhibit this kind of dependence on their mother. Have you noticed when the father chases them, they run to their mother? When anything they want food, they call their mother. Everything when they cry for food, they are looking at their mother. So this forms a kind of connection, deep connection between mothers and children. Even as they grow up, even when they get married finally, they still have this feeling that these children still depend on them. They still feel that they are not that strong enough to be on their own. So they still have this connection that children are still dependent on them. Number what again is social and cultural expectation. Social and cultural what expectation. Now, if you understand this, many cultures emphasize a mother's role as the primary caregiver, and thereby often assigning greater responsibilities for the child's emotional, physical, and social development. They assign them to the mother. Have you not heard your father those days when we were growing up? Any little thing, if you call him, you say, tell your mother. Tell him you're hungry, you say, tell your mother. Even school fees, men feel like, instead of giving it, my dad those days, instead of giving you direct, if you tell him school fees, anything from school, he will say, meet your mother. And then their mother will now come to him and tell him. So societally, there's this tendency that we believe that women are the ones to always do it for the kids, care for them. Although it's not always the case now, most times. Next point is, should I call it psychological factor? There are some psychological factors that are also responsible for this attachment, very strong attachment or bond between mothers and their children. Psychological factors. Now, there's this that's called protective instinct. It is called what? Protective instinct. Now, the stress, listen to me, the stress and worry a woman feels for her child may be also linked to this psychological drive to protect. To often it's referred to maternal instinct. That's what they call it, maternal instinct. They have this drive. They always feel like protecting. That's why if you observe animals like chicken, you see, they always like to protect their children. Anything that comes to pick the children or fight the children, the mother will always want to. Have you ever asked yourself, where is their father? He will never show up. The mother always want to protect. So that's why you always have issues with your mother-in-law, because she's always coming to protect that same child, that same your husband or your wife that you feel that is mature, but to her, it's not. There is also what is called, it is called neuroplasticity. Yeah, I can remember. Neuroplasticity and experience. Neuroplasticity and experience. Now, let me quickly explain this. The experience of pregnancy, childbirth, and raising children can physically, it is proven that it can physically, the experience of childbirth, the experience of nurturing children, it can physically, it can mentally also alter the mother's brain, thereby enhancing areas responsible for emotional, empathy, caregiving. In depth, it spoils these things, these factors in the life of the mother, in the brain of the mother. So it can alter some aspect of her brain somehow, and then they feel that's when they have this emotional attachment. They have this mentality of caregiving. They have this mentality of regulating their children's life. because of this factor that is called neuroplasticity and experience. That's how they are combined, neuroplasticity and experience. So you have to take time to understand these things. If you understand this, you know, if you can recognize these points whenever you are relating with mother-in-laws, you understand why they are significantly, involved. They want to be part of your spouse's life, even after marriage. They tend to show more attachment for their children, even in their relationship in marriage. They still want to observe things. They still want to, to be involved. They want to be part of what is going on, because that's the greatest mistake you make most times. You feel that you are married that lady. You feel you are married to the man, and you forget that the mother is there with all these factors at work in her. And this factor also made them to always feel empathetic. She may have concerns about her children's happiness. She may always come in to feel concerned about the children's happiness. She wants to feel concerned about the child, the daughter or the son's well-being. They try to see things from her perspective, especially when you see them exhibit some of these behaviors. Try to understand from their point. You see, you will stop having issues regularly with them. If you take time to observe and understand this point I have lined out for you, you see, you will reduce it will reduce the kind of issues, the amount of issues or quarrels you have with your mother-in-law. Now, the mistake you make most times, you are married to the man and you don't know, you forgot that the mother is still seeing in that man you are married to, she's still seeing a baby boy in that man. The same way, the other way around, the lady you are married to, you forgot that there's a mother somewhere that nurtured her, who is still seeing her as a baby, as my daughter, and you are seeing her as your wife. And that's the mistake. And most women, most times, tend to separate their husband from their mother. They feel that now you are married, let's run away. You see, the more you try to separate, especially when you notice a son and the mother attached together, they are like 5 and 6. You see, the greatest mistake you make is trying to separate them, because the more you do it, the more you are hurting yourself. It can't work. The best thing you do is bind them more together. Then you, as the man, also make sure you prioritize your wife. Make her know, understand that she has more priority in a marriage than any other thing. That's the truth. The other way around, that's how it works also. You see a mother attached to the daughter, and you're trying to separate them. You're wasting your energy and your time. The best thing you do is unite them together, support them, even create recreational activities. Make arrangements for them to always meet. And then you, as a wife, make sure you make your husband to know that he has priority also in this marriage. The Lord bless you. Congratulations for listening to us. The Lord be with you. Learn wisdom, learn understanding. It will take you far, even in your marriage and your relationship. The Lord bless you.